Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of Deborah Deann Poe, age 26, who disappeared on February 4th of 1990 from a convenience store connected to a gas station called Circle K in Orlando, Florida. Now she had moved there, I believe 4 months before, and she had started working the night shift at this Circle K convenience store, which her friends and family did not like, because a young woman alone at night in a convenience store is a fairly dangerous situation to be in. And apparently also there were two earlier disappearances of clerks in similar situations in that area as well, so they had reason to be concerned. Deborah apparently did not feel that concerned about her situation at all, because she just wanted to keep working there. She also had a job at a local newspaper called the Sentinel, and she was not planning on quitting her convenience store job for the Sentinel job because she was saving up to buy a house, and she just really wanted to make that money, and she figured she would be okay. Now, 2 weeks before her disappearance, there was an incident where a naked man had come into the convenience store, had climbed over the counter, started following her around, and she ran outside, and the man followed, and then she managed to run back in and lock the doors, after which she called the police. And of course, by the time the police were there, the naked man had disappeared as well, and that further spurred on her friends and family to tell her to stop working there, but she said she would be fine. There was a boyfriend called Scott, and according to him, he had spent a lot of time at the convenience store just to check up on her, like in previous weeks and months, and had also sometimes worked the entire shift, or he at least spent the entire shift there in the convenience store with her to make sure she was okay. And on that particular night, she had told him, there's no sense in both of us staying awake. Why don't you go home? Everything's gonna be fine. And that, of course, turned out to be the night on which she disappeared. From what I read, there was also a friend, at least according to the data that I read, there was a friend who showed up around 11 p.m. and they had also seen that she was helping customers at about 3:05 in the morning. And then they came back at around 3:50 to pick her up, and they found the store empty. Her work smock was folded neatly behind the counter, and there was also a coffee cup, I believe, on a stack of papers, and her car was in place. The register had been locked up. Nothing seemed out of place, but there was no Deborah at the convenience store. Now, according to a witness statement, the time during which this friend had not seen her, so from just over 3 till about 3:50, during which she must have disappeared, a customer had come in. This witness said that there was a tall man behind the counter wearing a Megadeth t-shirt, and he had a cross earring and a skull ring on his finger, and shoulder-length hair. She wanted to buy some cigarettes, and she noticed that it took him a while to find the brand of cigarettes that she wanted, and she just kind of chalked it up to, oh, this guy is new. But eventually did find it and rang it up for her and just used the register as though he knew exactly how it worked. And he also told her that smoking was not a good idea. So she just kind of thought, interesting, but didn't think too much of it. Now, according to the people from Circle K, nobody who went by that description actually worked there. I saw that the police suspected several years later that this may have been the boyfriend of a coworker who may have showed up to do something. Although this person has never been identified, I'm sure they would have checked all the different boyfriends of all the different workers there, and he was not found. During the search, they used infrared tracking and dogs to see if they could find a trail, and the dogs led to a parking lot of the apartment building behind the Circle K, and then eventually to an abandoned building nearby, but she was not found. They also had some dogs check out an area where they suspected they might be able to find some human remains. This is several months, years later, I believe. And the area that they were at was near the church of the boyfriend, where he was a pastor, I believe, boyfriend Scott. There were some traces found, at least according to the dogs. There were some spots that were at least connected somehow with human remains, but when they started digging, they didn't actually find anything, so that was both suspicious and disappointing at the same time. Speaking of human remains, there were also human remains found, I think 2 years after her disappearance, and they checked the dental records, and that did not turn out to be her. But anyway, so we don't really know where Deborah is, and we have no idea what happened to her. And that is why we're going to use the tarot to look at this case. We're starting off with the Muse deck, which is this one, which some very interesting dream-like or inspirational images, I guess you could say. And for any follow-up questions, we're using the Wise Dog Tarot, which is this one with all of the lovely dog imagery. I like to use that one when I'm tracking somebody, so to speak. Before we get started though, people who've been here before will know that I have a Google form. You can find it in the description. If you have a public case you would like me to take a look at, you can do so and submit it there. It's completely anonymous. You just need to put the name of the person or the name of the case in there, and preferably a little bit of extra info in the second field, so I have some idea who we're talking about, and then I can add that to my list and we could eventually do a reading on said case. Anyway, without much further ado, I'm just going to start shuffling the cards, and as soon as I have about a table full of cards, we're going to stop and take a look. So let's get started. Okay, so we're starting off with the Queen of Inspiration, which is the Queen of Wands, and they're in reverse, followed by the Priestess in reverse and the Ace of Cups in reverse, or Ace of Emotions as it's called here. Now the Queen of Wands is somebody who's very actionable usually. I'm thinking that this is Deborah herself. We're seeing though that she's not quite as on the ball, I would say, in this moment, particularly because the High Priestess is also in reverse, so that means like a lack of intuition, lack of insight, foresight, and the Ace of Cups in reverse as well. So it's almost like there is a lack of insight, and that means that the Queen of Wands in this case is not taking action or taking the wrong actions, and it's something to do with emotions. It could be. I just got like a thought that this may have been a serious situation within the relationship. So maybe Scott proposed or did something, and there's something really big there, or somebody else came in and proposed. It doesn't have to be Scott. It could just be a random person showing up in the middle of the night with a strange proposal. Sometimes you have weird people out there doing strange things. I mean, we did have that naked man 2 weeks prior, so there are definitely strange people out and about in the middle of the night that you don't want to run into. So this kind of looks like somebody kind of got in under her guard because the High Priestess is in reverse, and she's not really able to handle it because the Queen of Wands is in reverse, and they had some type of weird or negative emotional message or request or something along those lines. Now we see the Eight of Materials next to that, which is the Eight of Pentacles, and we have the Knight of Materials, which is the Knight of Pentacles, and the Ten of Voices, which is the Ten of Swords. Let's see, the Eight of Pentacles is normally somebody really focused on their craft and really trying to be a craftsman, a master craftsman, or just getting all their stuff done, all their ducks in a row. And since it's in reverse, maybe that she saw some type of negative effect coming down the pipeline, or she thought that something was going to affect her finances. It could be that somebody tried to rob them maybe as well. Could have been a robbery. And she did the practical thing as a result of that, because we have the Knight of Materials here, so maybe she stayed calm. But in the meantime, she was definitely very concerned, because the Ten of Voices is here, which is usually a very dramatic card. This might be a combination. I'm going to try to do my best to not upset this person, but also very, very worried and upset. I'm thinking that she basically appeared very calm and collected on the outside, which you can also kind of see with the folded apron that she left behind the counter and how everything else was still in place, but there's definitely a negative event taking place here. So somebody may have wandered in with a strange proposal, perhaps also wanting to not necessarily rob the store maybe, but affect her in some negative way, resources wise. So perhaps some very indecent and unusual proposals being made. Second line, we have the Five of Inspiration, which is the Five of Wands in reverse. So this is like a struggling thing. And we have the Five of Voices, which is the Five of Swords. Again, this is a word like an argument type of thing. And then we have the Nine of Cups. Okay, so the two fives over here show a physical and mental struggle, or at least trying to physically, mentally struggle against this person, against whatever it is that they had planned. But we have here the Nine of Cups, which is usually somebody being pretty well balanced emotionally. So again, I'm thinking she was able to keep her calm, even though there was a lot of struggle, possibly internally, like she was trying to fight something. I'm thinking somebody may have tried to keep her tied up or something, and she pretended that she was still tied up while she was trying to secretly try to get stuff off her hands. You can see that in a lot of movies as well, where the person who's being abducted is pretending that they're still tied up while meanwhile they're trying to get the zip ties off of them with some sharp object or something along those lines, but outwardly appearing to be okay and possibly also cooperative, thinking that that would help her and maybe get them to feel sympathy for her and let her go. I think she tried to stay very calm and perhaps also tried to appeal to them in some way. They may have also been lying to her, because the source, of course, is communication, and in reverse I tend to see that as lying or manipulation, or at least not telling the whole truth. So while she may have been arguing with herself or with this other person, they may have also been telling her that they would be eventually released, which would also possibly trigger the Nine of Cups into thinking, oh, it's fine, they just want this and then they're going to let me go, that type of thing. But we see that that is not happening, and I think we're having a switch here actually from point of view, because we have the Five of Cups here, Five of Emotions, followed by the Seven of Emotions, which is wishing for things, the Seven of Cups basically. And then we have the Empress on the end. I don't think this is the end of the situation, by the way. We're going to have to draw some more cards. I think that at this point the events that made Deborah disappear permanently has not occurred yet. We're still in this abduction situation, because the Five of Cups is feeling loss, but still having something to go for. It's the Three Cups that have been knocked over and the two that are still standing upright. That's the Five of Cups. So there's like crying over spilled milk vibes. There's also a bit of an ode. I really didn't want for that to happen, but I would have liked something else to happen, because you see here Seven of Cups, or Seven of Emotions as it's called in this deck, has someone wishing for something better. And then we have the Empress on the end, which I found was a very interesting card to pull. It's almost like this person, I'm getting an emotionally unstable person through these cards here that may have been having mental challenges and perhaps wanted some type of comfort from Deborah, because the Empress is somebody who really takes care of people. So maybe she was trying to keep them calm because she noticed that they were definitely not in a good headspace, and even though things did not go well between them, these two other cards appear to be saying the Empress may show that she did try to nurture them in some way, to almost like calm them down and possibly escape with her life intact. So we're looking at a very tricky situation. Now let's see what else we can find, because we're still with Deborah alive, I believe, at this point. What happens next? This is Ace of Wands. Alright, so next one is the Star reversed. Ace of Wands, when I turned it around and saw it was Ace of Wands, the first thing that actually came to mind was perhaps some abuse. The wands are often also seen as phallic symbols, particularly the Ace of Wands has some connections to that, so perhaps this may be abuse being perpetrated against Deborah, if you catch my drift, and then the star is in reverse. So maybe something happened during that event that made the perpetrator lose faith in her, and she was no longer the empress that they portrayed to be on the end here, but instead just did something that they really did not appreciate. Perhaps she tried to struggle or something along those lines, and that was too much for them. Oh, these guys, okay. This is, oh, got 3 of them. 3 cups. All right, so there's definitely a loss of harmony because the 3 cups is in reverse. So they perhaps no longer pretended that they were trying to work with them and decided to struggle for their life. We have now the 5 of Pentacles in reverse. 5 of Pentacles is, oh sorry, the 6 of Pentacles. 6 of Pentacles is sort of a charity card, but they were no longer being charitable. As you can see, it's in reverse. So the balance that they had of give and take. And it's also interesting to note that there's hearts in the scales there over here. And I think that their needs of the perpetrator were now outweighing the needs of Deborah, at least according to them, because they were no longer being charitable. We do have here the 4 of Wands, which is interesting because the 4 of Wands is a harmony card. So maybe there's another suggestion being made here. Like maybe she tried to restore harmony after this, or maybe he's like, oh, I'll give you a second chance or something along those lines. So we have a bit of a betrayal here. Things went a lot rougher, and then suddenly we see an attempt at gluing things together, either from her end or from their end. We don't know which is which, but let's see if we can find any more cards. So an attempt was made to calm things down as after things got troublesome. That one. This is the 4 of Swords. So we're trying to lay low. I think this is her attempt to try and smooth things over. So she may have been caught trying to escape, or been caught trying to worm her way out of things, or just go against what they wanted. And then the 4 of Swords is somebody laying low, and after this attempt at making peace, so to speak, trying to cooperate again to try and calm them down. This one, this is a Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so fortune is changing in this regard. Let's see if it was changing for the better or the worse. That one. Okay, so they may have actually been able to convince them again that they were going to be good and cooperate. Queen of Cups, that's right. She's using all of her charms to try and get them to work with them again. It kind of landed upright. Well, it's a little bit more like this, so I'm going to put it upright for now. So her attempt at laying low and trying to cause for things to calm down worked, at least for some time. Queen of Cups is very good with her emotions, could also have been very good at influencing their emotions of the perpetrator. And the Sun coming up is almost like this star going back to its original spot. The star fell up there. Oops. And then it rose again, because the Sun, of course, is also a star. Next we have the 10 of Swords again. So even though we've managed to convince them at this point that they should calm down and I'm going to cooperate, everything is going to be fine, we do again see the 10 of Swords, which is a in this case it's a reverse. So I would say that the anxiety that the normal 10 of Swords brings is now permanent, so it's really ingrained into a person. And also this card in particular has almost like a melancholy vibe to it, because the dog at the bottom appears to be sleeping, and then at the top you can see them dreaming of better times. So I think this is almost like, oh, the times, where have they gone? Things used to be so much better. I used to have better prospects, that type of thing. Okay, let's go back to the other deck. So she appears to have been able to calm them down at some points, but then still worried about things. What happens next? Because she's still around at this point with this read. What happens next? Oh, there we go. Oh, there's quite a few of them here. We have the Muse, which I think was up like this, so it's in reverse. This is the Muse of Cups again. Okay, so perhaps the same thing happened that also happened at the start, because the Muse of Cups, or the Ace of Cups, was in reverse there too. So disharmony is created regardless whether they try to calm them down or not. Three of Inspiration, Three of Wands in reverse. We're not going anywhere, because Three of Wands is usually like trying to go places, perhaps make plans, set out in the world, but it looks as though everything is grinding to a halt because we're in a bad spot emotionally, and we're also not able to move. We have here the Page of Emotions, which is the Page of Cups, and it's in reverse as well, so negative emotional surprises, and the Wheel again. So we're having another change in outcome. So the pacifying that she tried and succeeded at least at some point, was undone. So it was a very brief interruption, I guess, of their plans, of the perpetrator's plans. What else do we have now? Because now the wheel has turned again. That one, okay. That one took a moment to fall. And my fridge has decided to cool a little extra right now, so that's why we're hearing some noise in the background. Okay, so we have here the Seven of Voices, which is a Swords card, and it's in reverse. As you can see, normally it would be kind of like this. Now, Seven of Swords is a betrayal card, usually somebody trying to get betterment, or at least getting a better position over somebody else. It's in reverse, so I think that this may have always been the plan. They may, then this they being the perpetrator, they may have thought initially, oh, I'll just pretend that I'm going to let her go, because then at least she'll cooperate, that type of thing. But all along they've had this plan that they were going to do bad things. Also, the Two of Swords came out as well, so that is still being of two minds. So even though they may have decided that initially that they were going to not let her go, they're still doubting about it, because of course she has been able to convince them at least twice of the fact that she is a nice person and she's going to cooperate and do everything that they want her to do. So that may have been making them doubt. What else can we found? Okay, that one. I'll shuffle this bunch later, but first we have the Seven of Emotions, which is the Six of Emotions, sorry, which is the Six of Cups, and it's in reverse. The Six of Cups is a melancholy card, thinking about the past, remembering things of the past, and in this case perhaps also looking back on the past woefully. So maybe this may have been somebody that they actually knew, or maybe Deborah reminded the perpetrator of somebody that they had a negative experience with, which may have ultimately led them to make the decision that they had already kind of come to with this Seven of Swords. But since we had the Two of Swords right there, they let emotions from the past decide their actions next. And then we have the Nine of Materials, which is the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. So it is definitely costing them. I think this may be Deborah actually losing all of resources, also losing perhaps her independence, possibly losing future plans, because the Nine of Pentacles is normally somebody being very satisfied with their financial and resource situation. And in this case, everything is taken from her, which may also mean that the person who is perpetrating this crime, which of course it would have been eventually, felt like they were losing whatever it is that they had built up, maybe. At least I find it's a trend with perpetrators to think that the victim is inconveniencing them, even though obviously they're the one perpetrating this crime. But okay, so maybe they were also feeling kind of sorry for themselves, but I think it's mostly Deborah just feeling that whatever she built up is now for naught, that realization that maybe she's not going to make it out of there. Oops, come on now. What else can we find anymore? Okay, that's the whole stack. I'm not going to accept the entire stack, so let's shuffle this bunch separately. Okay, those guys immediately flip themselves. Alright, let's see. We have the Magician on its side. Alright, and we have the Eight of Inspiration on its side, which is the Eight of Wands. Okay, so this is definitely actions being taken that are counterproductive, maybe even taken in a state of mind where they're not even really thinking about the impact. That's kind of what's coming to my mind. Like, they are taking actions, they're very resourceful, but it's like they're very cold about it. This may represent, for instance, at least as far as I can tell, may represent not wanting to make her suffer, for instance, but not because that's convenient for her, but because it's convenient for him. That type of vibe is what I'm getting from this. Anyway, Eight of Inspiration is definitely a lot of action as well. They may have finally made a decision and decided to move on it, which the Magician would help with because they are always very resourceful and actionable. So I think this is the part where she was unfortunately killed by this perpetrator, or at least somehow dumped, gotten rid of, out of his way. Are we ever going to find her? And are we ever going to find out who did it? Oops, there's a card on my arm. This one. Okay, this is the Five of Wands, so there's definitely a struggle still going on. Five of Wands is normally like a sparring thing. And it's almost like this person, I think this is the perpetrator that we're looking at, has people in their life that kind of know or kind of suspect, or maybe he just likes to talk to them about certain things like, hey, what would you do if I told you that I had done XYZ, that type of thing. They may be occasionally also just doing things that seem a little odd, maybe. Like, very often when somebody has, I would say, psychopathic tendencies, you can see it in their behavior beforehand. That's what I'm saying. Like, this might be somebody who has unusual things that they like to do, like Ted Bundy liked to scare people, for instance, for no particular reason, and other people may like to hurt animals, that type of thing. So this kind of looks like it would be somebody who is known to their friend group as being somebody who does things that occasionally cause a bit of sparring within the friend group, but kind of stand out as well as being a little odd. We have here the Six of Cups in reverse. Again, Six of Cups. So definitely something that's still in their past of the perpetrator. They're still thinking of it, and it's definitely a negative thing that is weighing on their mind. Now, what else can we see? Are they going to like turn themselves in or something? Because so far they may be showing signs. And they may also be a little bit melancholic about the past. Whoop, that one. It is the Ace of Cups again. So this Ace of Cups is once again in reverse. So I think that with all of this melancholy and occasionally doing things that kind of stand out to people, there's also a great emotional impact. Maybe they are no longer able to connect to people, or they're having a lot of trouble in love and relationships, or relationships in general. There may also just be regrets for the actions that they've taken. The Nine of Cups. Okay, so even though they're regretting something or having trouble somewhere, they are still able to feel pretty good about themselves, which is unusual. But that might also point towards somebody who is psychopathic, because they don't tend to feel bad about the things that they do. So there may be some things in the past that they are definitely still stuck on, but ultimately at the end of the day they are able to sleep, so that's not a good sign for us, because I think this person is still out there. Are we gonna see her anytime soon? Are we gonna find her anytime soon? So I don't think we need to expect the perpetrator to come forward even though there may be people who see things about them that makes them go, that's kind of weird, but they are not interested in coming forward. I asked if we were going to see her, and we do see the world here, and I tend to see that as people or the world looking at something, finding something out. So I'm thinking that eventually we are going to see some evidence. She may be found, remains may be found. I'm not getting the vibe that this person will actually become known to the world. Maybe once remains are found that they will become known to the world, but it's not quite they are exposed, but rather we're going to find something more about her. And we do have the moon coming out though as the last card, which is a card of secrets. There may be some secrets being revealed, which would be very interesting. So not only do we have the world here, which tends to show that there will be something revealed to the world, we may see some secrets being revealed as well, which may eventually lead to the perpetrator. We hope so in any case. So not very conclusive. We do see that she was led astray by somebody who had some interesting and dishonorable intentions and requests. It looks as though she tried very hard to keep them calm and tried to be smart about things. She managed to calm him down at least twice, but then eventually they decided, you know what, it doesn't matter. I had my decision made before I even showed up, so even though you're a very nice person here with the Two of Voices, I can't let you go because you've seen my face, all that sort of thing. And so they ended up doing whatever it is with her that made her unable to return. We see them not being in a particular hurry to confess, but we do see the world and the moon coming out to make sure that eventually something will be known about this case. So if hopefully we'll see something about Deborah Deann at some point, and then this case can be put to rest. And that's all I'm seeing for right now. I hope you found it interesting. Be sure to leave a like and a comment in the comment section. That really helps the channel along. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, which would be great. A nice milestone for us. And I hope to see you in another video. In any case, thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.